Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dean's Chat, where we discuss all things podiatric medicine. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Jensen. I'm the host of the Dean's Chat podcast and the dean at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine. Again, I'm joined today by my co-host, Dr. Johanna Richey. Hi, Jo.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Well, thank you.
Great. Well, we have a fantastic guest today, Dr. Christy King. Welcome to Dean's Chat, Christy.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me here.
It's great to have you. We're pretty informal on Dean's Chat, so if you don't mind, let's go with first names, Christy, Joe, and Jeff.
Absolutely. Sounds wonderful.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, Christy, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk with our audience a little bit about yourself and about the program. I'm going to start with a brief introduction. I'm going to try to keep it brief. But Dr. King grew up in New Mexico, and then she graduated high school and went to Boston University, where she studied biology as her major and minor in psychology. And you completed all your undergraduate degree on a Division I scholarship for softball, which is awesome. Then you went back to the West Coast and did your podiatric medical school through the California School of Podiatric Medicine with Samuel Merritt University, and you graduated in 2009. You then went on to do the 3-year surgical residency program with the Kaiser San Francisco Bay Area Foot and Ankle Residency Program, where you very soon after graduating became the residency director. And you still, to this day, fill that role. You're also currently the assistant research director for that Kaiser Bay Area program, but you were previously the director of the research section, and you have a numerous amount of publications. And I want to do a quick little shout out for your recent Lions work of the clinics in podiatric medicine, which was exceptional, including multiple articles, but also editing that whole section. So fantastic job. You're involved with the Samuel Merritt Alumni Association, where you serve as the chair. You've been a delegate for the California Podiatric Medical Association. And recently, I think you became the society president for that organization. Yeah. You've been highly involved with academics through the AO Foundation, your residency program, the American Board of Foot and Ankle Residency Task Force, and you've received numerous awards for your teaching, including the Kaiser Permanente TPMG Teaching Award for Excellence in Graduate Medical Education, the Timothy Holbrook Memorial Award of Excellence, and the American Board of Surgery Michael Stone Outstanding Professional Conduct Award, just to name a few. So welcome to Dean's Chat.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. So my first question, I know you're a new mom of a beautiful little boy who's 6 months old, and we know new moms don't sleep, but did you ever sleep, Christy? Do I need to get you a pillow?
No, I think I'm doing wonderful. I mean, with residency training and everything, this is probably easier than that was. So we've also been extremely lucky because he's sleeping really well through the night. So I count our lucky stars for all of that. So
that's great. I think we'll start with, if you want to kind of talk a little bit about the program for the audience, if they don't know much about the Bay Area or about the Kaiser residency programs, if you want to kind of start talking about the residency.
Sure, absolutely. So Kaiser Permanente in general is a large healthcare system within Northern California. There's also areas across the United States, but in Northern California, it's a very strong healthcare system. Within our system, we have multiple residency programs, not just podiatry, but OB-GYN, general surgery, orthopedics to some degree at different sites. Our program itself runs out of the Kaiser San Francisco, as well as Kaiser Oakland and what's called the Diablo service area, but essentially it's a suburb east of the urban areas of San Francisco and Oakland. So it's great. We get to treat very diverse populations with similar and dissimilar problems. So I think that provides a lot of really amazing educational opportunities for our residents, as well as our patients, which is great. Our first years will spend most of their time at Kaiser Oakland obtaining kind of outside rotations, as well as 4 months of podiatry in their first year. And then after that, their second and third years will split their time on 4-month blocks at each of those major sites, really developing close relationships with the attendings that they work with and the patients that they work with, and then being able to kind of progress to the next site to develop those relationships again, which I think really helps them grow as medical providers.
Fantastic. How many residents do you take?
So we take 3 residents a year for 3 years of training. So we have 9 residents at a time.
Fantastic. How about the call schedule?
Oh, that varies kind of where you're at. I think it's pretty reasonable. Every program is going to be a little bit different. I think there's a lot of education that comes with call. Depending on our sites now, if you're in San Francisco, it's essentially Q3/Q4. So every 3 to 4 weekdays and then weekends. And then in Oakland, there are 2 main residents. So it's every other. And then in the Diablo service area, those residents, there's 3 to 4 of them. So it's essentially every 3 to 4 weeks. So it really gives you the opportunity to, I think, gather a lot of nice cases, as well as, ankle reductions and other, trauma opportunities, but at the same time have an opportunity to enjoy the Bay Area, which has a lot of hiking, great food, great sporting events, go 49ers, sorry Cardinals. But a lot of things to do other than when it's raining, which is very rarely so.
Fantastic. Can you speak a little bit about research? Is that something that is required of the students or the residents?
Something I'm very passionate about, as you already know that. Research can sometimes seem daunting to residents or students that are just looking for, ways to succeed within our profession. We're very lucky with our system, as well as the attendings that are practice within our program, that we really try and make it as easy as a process as possible. So Kaiser Permanente has a large system of division of research that helps collect and manage that data and information. And then with our attendings, with a plethora of, journal articles and experiences on their own, as well as our GME coordinator of research, we're able to help the residents produce research. We do require or really encourage it, where the residents should have at least one publishable product within their 3 years. But many times our residents are, taking on multiple projects because of not only the value to their own education, hopefully to learn about subjects within the foot and ankle, but also to provide our profession with more information, given the data that's really within our system that we can take advantage of.
Christy, if you don't mind me asking, with that database, you must have, it's just open season on research. What are a couple of the projects you're working on right now?
Absolutely. One of the projects I'm personally working on is around Achilles neglected rupture research, which there's not a lot out there. They're usually smaller case series. So we're trying to look at within our system, how are people treating that? What procedures are they choosing? What are the complications or outcomes that we're seeing after those? I also enjoy doing a lot of lapidus research. So looking at the lapidus bunionectomy, how does it change pressures? How do patients do afterwards? What's the potential chance of revision need afterwards? So that's one of our projects that hopefully should be published here shortly. I know we submitted it to, and we're presenting it at the FACFAS manuscript competition next week, I believe that is. And we've got a fair amount of total ankle revision research that occurs within our system based on Dr. Schuber's time, which I think you interviewed him not too long ago. And then also Dr. Dickinson is a big part of the total ankle production within our system. And he's also another amazing educator that we're very lucky to have within our system. So it can be very endless, and we're very lucky to have those opportunities as well as the support in our system to be able to draw from that data.
Well, that's incredible. What a great opportunity. I can imagine when a student's visiting you have a clerkship, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And they must be wide-eyed and like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to begin, but what an opportunity. Can you tell us a little bit about the clerkship opportunities and how many you take and what their schedule looks like? Because our students are always asking us, I want to go here, I want to go here, I want to go there. And this is just a great resource for them.
Absolutely. So within our system, we try and provide our externs with as many opportunities to see everything that our program offers. And most of the time, I don't know that we can get them all of those opportunities, but we do try and take advantage of that as as much as possible. We do take 4 externs a month, up to 4, because of our essentially 4 sites. And so the resident or the students rotate between those 4 sites on a weekly basis, where they're really the only student with the resident in attendings at that site at that time. So that's going to ideally, provide more personal relationships and relationship building opportunities for questions. And they're not necessarily being overlapped with other externs in that time. And then they rotate to kind of the next site. In the past, they were really located either mainly at Oakland or the Diablo service area and didn't necessarily get to really experience the full flavor of our program. So probably 5-10 years ago, we tried to expand that so they really got to see as much as they could. Because of the Kaiser system, they aren't necessarily allowed to see a patient by themselves, or we don't necessarily use the student for work. It's really about observing not only clinic experiences, but they're in pretty much all of the surgeries that we do scrubbed in. So you get to really see all the hands-on experiences that our residents are doing on a regular basis. And we have essentially in Oakland surgery every day, or surgery or operating room going. So the residents or students are really with the residents at all of those times, as well as if they want to take advantage of after hour call or weekends, they can. But most of the time we encourage them to also experience the Bay Area so that they can really get an idea of how fun it is to be in Northern California.
I went to school at CCPM back when it was in San Francisco, and we would spend our weekends. We'd drive over the Golden Gate Bridge up to Marin County on Mount Tam, and we'd hike and run and go down to the beach. It was quite the lifestyle there.
I don't know that you'll find too many places with nice weather that you can experience as different of sites as you can within the Bay Area. I mean, there's hiking among the redwoods, and then you can go surf on the beach, and you can drive a couple hours to go skiing in Tahoe, or, not too far away to experience, pretty amazing wine country. And as I get older, you really enjoy the food side of it. So I don't know that there's...
Or if you're younger,
if you're younger, I used to make fun of my uncle when he'd just tell me about the restaurants he went to when he went on vacations. But I find that that's what I do now, is really, enjoy the amazing, diverse food options, that the Bay Area provides, and just learning and seeing new places. I don't even know that living here now for 20 years that I've been able to experience everything that the Bay Area truly offers. So.
Do the residents get opportunities to be out together and have resident experiences together?
Oh yeah, I love it. You know how much I love that. So I know that was a direct question, but yes, absolutely. So I think it's really important not to just take advantage of educational opportunities, but really the experience that life offers. And I encourage our residents and our students to do that. And I like to aid in those experiences as well. So, we try and find time either to go to Warriors games. So we've been to a Warriors game in the fall, and we're going to another one here coming up in February. I have season tickets for the 49ers. So when I can't go, offer that to our residents, but I'm going this weekend. As well as, schedule time for us to go to certain restaurants, Top Golf. We've done K1 go-karting before. We also have a attending versus resident sporting event each year. That started with basketball, but after injuring and attending that then required surgery, we kind of had to go to less impactful sports.
That may have been us, by the way, as residents.
That was us. Yeah, that was. And we won as the residents, just FYI. But since then, we've tried to go to less impactful sports like bowling and mini golf. And kickball has actually been a pretty popular event to the point that anesthesia department was so excited hearing about our attending versus resident kickball games that they wanted in. So we now have anesthesia versus podiatry kickball events every year as well. So really just, enjoying the experience, enjoying each other. I think many times we get distracted by getting to the end, getting to the end of the book or getting to the end of that chapter. And probably as you get older, you come to find out it's about really cherishing the journey. And so I try and reflect that to our students and our residents as much as they'll probably listen, which they get tired of, but really just enjoying all of the opportunities that we have together.
I love that, like giving them a chance to come up for air.
Yeah, absolutely. It's there's a really cool talk that the Duke women's basketball coach gives to her players, I think at the end of practice. And she says, we're always waiting for things to get easier. I got to get through medical school because it'll be easier. I got to get through residency because it'll be easier. And it's not that things ever get easier. It's that you get better at handling the difficult. And as you guys know, being an adult, being a parent, you just get different things thrown at you. And residency is just another experience to kind of learn how to handle new challenges, and it only prepares you further for life experiences. And if I can help, just a little bit to make a residence experience a little bit lighter and, try not to have as many anxieties and stress as many of our type A personalities probably have, being care providers, then, I do my best to help them with that. So.
Christy, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No,
Christy,
go ahead.
I was going to ask about the residency interview process. I'm assuming you were in Frisco a couple weeks ago.
We just got back. Yeah, not too long ago. So
what was that like as a residency training committee, if you have one? What are you looking for in students? Because you see so many 4 a month, you get a lot of clerks coming through. What are you looking for in a great resident?
That's always the $1 million question. And I don't think there's one right answer or one right recipe that makes a good resident from a student. And it's always a research project of mine to figure out, what do you see as a student that makes them a good resident, that makes them a good attending? And it's not one thing. I always find it interesting as well when we look at interview applications, we're given a few pieces of paper to figure out who these are as people. And for me, many times the personal statement is just a way for me to see more of like the colors of who these people are. Because that's very important to me. It's not GPA, that only means so much, or how you take tests or how you attend class. It's kind of about your life experiences and what's built you to become who you are. So I try to get to know people either when they're here as externs or through their personal statements in these interview applications or externship applications to get to know a little bit more about them. Every program is going to say, they want someone that's hardworking and driven, but I find that we really like students and residents that are not only driven to make them the best versions of themselves that they can be, but they're coachable, that they can take a situation and then adapt it to the next situation. So, they learn from their experiences. I find that to be a very valuable tool. And we're all not perfect. So being teachable, where you can take constructive criticism and make yourself stronger, for your patients and for your own care moving on as attending, I think are very subtle characteristics that are hard to evaluate. Working as a team is incredibly important within our system. I know we always look for individuals that work well on their own, but being able to share those experiences and really mentor the next generation is important to me. I find some programs may work with a hierarchy that as you get older, you get to take more of the cases, from others. But our program really functions more as a mentoring system, where I expect actually more responsibility of our older residents to help guide the younger generations, whether that's the students or the first years, because I think that's not going to just make them stronger educators and better at what they do as providers, but it's going to help the next person coming along. And One of my favorite quotes actually came from Drew Brees, but he was talking about kind of how he had success in his sporting life. Obviously, you can see sports are a big part of my life in general. But he always said, the first part of it was to master your craft and then mentor, one or two next, generation. I gotta look it up. And then the next one's make a difference. So, how can I make a difference? And I find that guides my life a lot of times, because I enjoy the mentorship side of it. And, I hope through that we can truly make a difference for even a wider group of students and residents and our patients as well. So
that's a beautiful segue to kind of where I was leading my next question, which was, you were a catcher, correct, for softball? So tell us or tell the audience a little bit about maybe how that impacts your teaching style, or how some similarities from your experience as a catcher kind of play into now this idea of coaching and teaching.
Absolutely. Sports were a big part of my life growing up. Played a lot of different sports, but softball was always my main sport, and was very lucky and privileged to obtain a D1 scholarship to go play in college, which was an amazing time to really, see a new place. Got a little tired of the cold weather, but Boston's an amazing town to be in, especially as a college student, and especially as a female in sports as well. So there's a lot of opportunities, I think, that college sports offer that we don't necessarily have as many, and especially back in my day, not a lot of professional options. So really, like, college sports was the top of where you could go with that. And so sports teaches you how to work as a team. But I think my position as a catcher, if you look even at professional sports, MLB, many times the managers are former catchers. And I think that is because if you look at what Joe Torre, Bochy, who is San Francisco Giants coach for 3 of their World Series, and he just won with the Texas Rangers. I mean, these people, and I feel catchers in general, are the only position on the field that get to see the entire field and how each person fits into the team and what they can do for the team. And I think that reflects on being a director, program director, in that my job is to see how each attending and each resident functions, how they learn, and how I can work with them as people to fit with the team to increase the success of both their personal journey as well as the program's journey. And so it's always important to me to find the people that I feel that kind of fit into that culture the best, because then we'll all continue to grow and succeed along those lines.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
How about the beginning? How did you find out about podiatry?
How did I find out podiatry? So sports medicine. So my short answer is always sports medicine. My long answer is growing up in New Mexico. My sister had a close friend. I played a lot of sports, and being a catcher, interesting enough, you get a lot of ingrown toenails because you're up on your toes. So probably something people don't always think about. And I had a fair amount of ankle sprains in my times with either basketball or softball. And our family friend would always take care of me in those times. And it actually wasn't until my senior year of college, I was in Boston, I was getting ready, I was taking an EMT class, and I was getting ready to be an EMT for a year, to take a year to build that EMT time, as well as do your MCATs and everything. And I actually still remember running into him at Whole Foods in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he told me, hey, why don't you, come just tag along with me for the day in clinic over winter break. I went with him for a day. I was able to see his work in clinic and just really loved the diversity that podiatry offered. One person could do clinic and operating room time and trauma and, bread and butter bunions and hammer toes, and sports medicine with, the injuries that happen, and adults and pediatrics. And, I felt that it was a place that I would always be challenged, and you wouldn't necessarily get tired or bored of that. So I loved that diversity of experience that podiatry offered. And I believe I applied for podiatry that night. And really what led me to the California school was there weren't very many schools in warm areas at the time that I was going through. Arizona had just started, so we still just weren't sure about that yet. And my grandparents were probably a little bit too close. They lived in Tucson, so I wasn't sure about that. And then Western hadn't started in Southern California, and it was really kind of Barrie and I guess California were the main schools. And my mentor, he went to the California school, as well as his son was actually currently going through the California school. So many people led me down the route of the California School of Podiatric Medicine with Samuel Merritt University, and really enjoyed my time there, not just from the Northern California area, but eventually found some of my best friends as well as my husband. So it all turned out really well. And obviously my family from there. So in a way, it was all meant to be in some way.
Absolutely. And I think there are a lot of students that can resonate with that. They meet a partner during school. So can you talk a little bit about how, as you and Meher started looking at residency opportunities, how you wrapped a framework around two people trying to match, and how did you guys approach that?
Always hard. I think communication is huge in terms of, what you both expect and what you kind of both want out of your careers. And I think we had a pretty good understanding of, not that we were putting our careers above each other, but that we did want a good educational experience to set up our careers for the future. The Bay Area presented one of the best opportunities, given that I believe there's 6 residency programs within the Bay Area, or at least at the time there was, between the 3 Kaiser consortiums and then 2 VA programs and then St. Mary's programs. So a lot of opportunities were here for us. And we got very lucky that I matched with our program with Kaiser San Francisco, and then he matched actually with the Kaiser North Bay program. And then his brother matched with St. Mary's. So we actually all lived together in a house that was somewhere equidistant between all 3 of those sites, to be able to kind of enjoy those different experiences at different sites. We never knew it was going to happen that way. I mean, we'd hoped that it would work out, and everyone found their special place. And I think one of the things we've discussed before, and even sometimes what I tell people during the interview process, is when I was a student going through it and seeing different programs on externships, you're going to find that there's lots of good programs. There's a fair amount of great programs, but ultimately you want to find a place that feels like home. Because that's where you're going to feel the most comfortable in challenging situations, and you're going to learn the best. And for me, when I found our program, it felt like home. And I hope that, whether a student's experience is their home for us or if it's somewhere else, I always hope I can help guide them to those experiences, because we got super lucky that when we looked at where all of our friends matched, especially that year in the Bay Area, I felt like everybody found their home at those residency programs that represented them the best. And I think all of our friends did amazing at each of those programs because it matched them so well. So I think that's incredibly important. And then communication's key. I mean, we didn't always see each other when the residency is going on, and you're really kind of trying to take advantage of your education. But at the same time, when you do have a moment to see each other, really trying to let go of the maybe patient needs or the residency needs at that time, and just be with each other, which can sometimes be hard, again, for our type A personalities. And it was definitely a learning experience for me. But, I think we did that well and came out even stronger after residency.
And so now, fast forward 12 years. now you have a family. You guys have a 7-year-old daughter and a 6-month-old son. You have 2 academic programs, because I know Meher also is a residency attending. Very busy practices. And I know both of you also teach and are involved with many professional organizations. What is some advice, or how do you guys make that work-life harmony, which I loved that statement that Jeff had said in a previous one from Dr. Ciccinelli. How do you make that work? What are your secret recipes?
Oh, goodness. Secrets. Lots of colorful calendars, which my husband really enjoys. Communication again, kind of making sure everything is taken care of. And I think he lets me do more of that because he knows that I have control issues and like to do that a little bit more. But you and I have talked about this many times, but, I don't think that when we look at work-life balance, that work and your family should be competing interests. I think they're overlapping interests. And you can share how much you're committing to each differently based on the time that each needs at that time. So it's not that I always have to give 50% here and 50% there. Or, there can be times that maybe one of them needs a little bit more, and it's okay to provide that time to your family more, or provide that time to the residency program more. And I think we do a pretty good job of helping each other succeed in all of those worlds. Thankfully, we don't run into too many times that one of us has to sacrifice something to help the other, but we're always ready to provide each other with the opportunities that they need. I've gotten lucky that at least this time, now that the second kid's here, that I have my mother up here. So that definitely helps make things a little bit easier to help take care of my 6-month-old son, and helps us give a little bit more time to work and our educational responsibilities right now. But we try and be a part of our daughter's life, or our son's life, as much as possible. I just got done with coaching my daughter's basketball team last night for practice. We got games coming up. So really try and be a part of their life too, and let them know, how important they are to us. And I think, hearing from some females as well that maybe their kids are older, and they see how much their moms have given to their patients. And I think they respect that. And in the end, they see that it's a good thing too. And I know my daughter will make comments every once in a while, just knowing, the dedication that you give to your patients and how special that is. And that makes me feel special that she recognizes that. So I like to try and take time for both of them as much as I can, and vary that based on the situation. But it's always a challenge. You just gotta know what's the right thing to do, or what should be the thing that you need to do at that time, and then make the next step the next time too.
Christy, you seem to be in tune with what makes people tick. And I noticed in your intro, when you were in college, you also had some psych background. How has that helped you out in dealing with residents and patients and family and everything together?
Amazingly enough, I've come to enjoy the challenge of trying to get, whether you're working with patients that you have to reason with to help themselves, given whatever ailment they have at the time, or different types of learners, how I enjoy learning how people learn, and then trying to kind of mold the education that we provide to that. As much as possible. And it's not always easy, but in I guess one of my sick personalities, I do enjoy that challenge. Sometimes it can be harder than others, but I think it's so cool to see how people think, and then to try and find ways to reason with their thought process, that we're not all the same. We don't reason all the same. And it's always interesting and rewarding to me when you either see, that glint or that smile or that happiness in either patients or learners, when you're able to get across a principle or get across, a diagnosis and treatment plan to people and make them feel a part of the decision that they got there too. I think that's a very special feeling that we've probably sometimes lose in our jobs and even as either educators or care providers, especially as we get tired, with situations that come about or just workloads that come about. So I try and enjoy those moments as much as I can because I think they're really special when you can help mentor people or guide people along those routes.
That's great. I like that.
Following in that sports theme, one of the things you and I were at a conference that I found so interesting is it was a sports psychologist, and she was talking about how similar surgeons are to professional athletes in this idea that you are having to perform at your peak performance all the time. There is not an opportunity to be like, well, today I'm just going to phone it in, right?
Right.
And I thought it was so fascinating that one of the things she commented on is what is the difference between a professional athlete and just high level or elite athlete? And it was how they recover, which again was just such an eye opener for me. It wasn't about how hard they trained or what they ate or, their genetic background. It was how they recover. Right. And I think that there's so much importance there as we think about our own peak performances, right? That you can give 110% every single day, all day, but at some point you have to come up for air. You have to take that moment.
Absolutely.
Or you're going to burn out or fail, right?
Right.
So I like that you've already kind of touched on how you create those opportunities for our residents or the residents, or give them at least a moment to consider these as importance to their education. What are some ways that you find you unwind or recover? What do you do now for?
What do I do for fun now? Just being around my kids and seeing them smile over the simplest of things, I think is really special to me. Enjoy walks. I'm not huge into running these days. I've seen too many people get hurt. Pickleball hurts way too many Achilles, but I think I love just enjoying the outside, which we're very lucky that we can do that almost year round within the Bay Area. Just simple walks around our neighborhood. We've got some beautiful redwoods and, I live 15 minutes from Oakland, and can really enjoy almost like a forest atmosphere being so close to an urban area, which I absolutely love. And so I find that really special. Still, I think sports are amazing, both for younger kids to kind of learn team environments, but it's so much fun to work with my little kid. And I'm finally getting her to play baseball this season. So I wasn't trying to push anything, this whole time, but she loves basketball and she loves the Warriors and she loves Steph Curry. So, I think that's been really special to kind of share sports with her. And she loves a lot of things that I just want to be a part of. And now that our son's here too, just to kind of involve everybody together is my way of unwinding. I don't do as many like personal solo events as maybe I should, because my happiness kind of resides in my residents and my program and my family, especially. So I spend most of my time in those areas.
So I have a question for you. My time in California was great because the Warriors had Tim Hardaway and Mitch Richmond and Chris Mullin. It was a great time.
Yeah.
So also when I was there, the quarterbacks of the Niners, Joe Montana, of course, Steve Young was backing him up. What is it that makes Mr. Irrelevant such a great quarterback, Brock Purdy?
Oh, man. Amazing question. So interesting enough, back in the day, I was actually a 49ers fan. Grew up in New Mexico. Most of the time, it's a Dallas Cowboys fan. So that's what my mom is. So somehow I loved the Montana era, the Steve Young era, Jerry Rice. Pretty amazing time, obviously, for Bay Area sports. Had a 49ers puffer jersey. So I've always had kind of this 49ers fan in me. I did become a Patriots fan for some time and still am, because the New England area is a big part of me as well. But Brock Purdy has obviously garnered a lot of conversation lately. And I think the pretty amazing part of him is he's used people's doubt of him to challenge him to be better. And instead of having an ego, he's humble about it. And I think having that just makes you better. And you can even reflect that in what we do as attendings, as physicians. I mean, you mentioned kind of the reflection of sports, and I think we're going to have even better attendings the more we can be comfortable and humble in what we can do, and then be able to educate others and continue to challenge ourselves to be better. No one's perfect. No physician's perfect. But the more we can acknowledge that and recognize times that we're either challenged or that we need help, or, we need to take a step back or a breath, I think it's going to make us better. And Brock Purdy, I think he's pretty good at that. He's still young, and I still think he needs opportunities to improve, to gain those experiences. But I think he has an uncanny grasp of that much faster than most people. And I think having that doubt of him is almost challenged him more. And you see that in Tom Brady as well. I mean, he was picked in 6th or 7th round. And to use that doubt that others have for you to only make yourself better. And also, I was kind of one of those crazy personalities that did well in school, would get a very good score on, a test, but was not happy with myself that I either didn't do it fast enough or I didn't do it as comfortable. So it wasn't that I necessarily competed against others. I competed against the best of what I thought I could be. And so I think constantly challenging yourself to that can help you grow. And then as you get older, you realize you just don't have to challenge yourself all the time. You just need to take a break every once in a while and enjoy the moment, and then get back on that, journey to kind of challenge yourself to be better. So I know if there was one thing I needed to tell myself back in the day, and I try and do it to residents now, is just, it's okay to take a breath. It's okay to take a break. Everything's going to be there, when you get back from that 30-minute break or hour break or day break. It's okay. Who you are and where you've gotten from here is what's going to help continue to help you with your successes. I just wish I took a couple more deep breaths back in the day, but I try and help people now knowing that. So,
hey, you can't always, you have to experience it yourself before you can, parlay it onto others. But that's a great story. I thought it was interesting this year when Brock Purdy hit kind of a 3-game skid. Didn't he throw 4 interceptions one game? I was impressed with his resiliency to come back because the media was like, oh my gosh, his true colors are finally showing, and he regrouped and delivered. I think most of the country's rooting for him.
Yeah, no, Pat McAfee just had a podcast I was watching a little snippet from where he was negating a lot of the things that other people were saying, that they were tearing down Brock Purdy as much as they could. And, he's top 5 in all of these quarterback categories for all season long. And really they need to take a step back, and instead of tearing people down, like actually recognizing the power of what he's doing, which is pretty impressive. And even if he fails, in this next round, what that's going to build him into coming forward. And I think, even if I recall, when they looked at like his quarterback skills in the combine, he had the knowledge base and also the like evaluation techniques of quarterbacks like Drew Brees and like a lot of these very smart quarterbacks that are able to take those experiences and know how to process them well. And I think that's incredibly strong too, to know that everything happens for a reason. Now, what can I do with that experience, whether it was a success or a failure, to make myself better going forward?
Well said. Yeah, I don't know what his Wonderlic score was, but I imagine it was pretty high.
I remember hearing it was high. I got to go research to give you for sure on that, but yeah.
I love your perspective on that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard a couple themes there that I'd like to touch on really quickly, because I think this is a really interesting conversation that will resonate with a lot of people. And some of the things I heard you, the two of you, as you were discussing this particular athlete, of course, I know who he is, but I'm not as much of a sports NFL person now because I've become a kid duty on Sundays. So one of them is grit and resiliency, that ability to like let it go and keep pushing, right? The other one is curiosity, right? It's okay to fail. It really is. It's the first attempt in learning, right? Is what fail stands for. So it's okay to fail, but let's be curious why, or what can we do differently? Why? Oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure about this. Asking for help. And this is the one I really want to touch on. Where do you think the line between competency and asking for help? How do you think students can navigate that? Like asking for help, but not looking incompetent, if that makes sense.
That is $1 million question as well, that I had a long conversation with one of my first years last week, I want to say. But I think there's research out there looking at, competency and being aware of your competency or incompetency, or, I think that's incredibly strong. And being open, I think, is an incredibly big part of that. And finding the mentors that you can ask those questions in the right situation. You're right that it's very hard to be a student, especially as you rotate around to different externship programs, to understand like when's the right time that I should ask that question. And it's a stressful situation right now in the operating room time, maybe not the best experience or time to open up about why is that attending doing it that way. But the more you can be open to the fact that maybe you don't know something, and then challenge yourself to find that answer, whether you're, looking through the books to find that answer, or, asking those with experience, that have had those experiences is very strong. In school, we learn a lot of black and white. We learn a lot of like, it works this way, it works that way. And as you as attendings and teachers have learned, there's not only like a large gray scale of what works, there's like multiple colors as to like how do we help with certain diagnoses and treatments, and how do you get patients to do certain things. And I always tell our residents and students to be open to like learning the why. And so, when there's a lull in patient care, or, you're waiting in the OR for the next case to go, it's nice to, make an educated, question. I saw that you were looking at this, or I saw that there was a pause during that time. What were you looking at? What characteristics of the x-ray, what characteristics of the, your time in that surgery kind of led you down that route? And I think that's very powerful, because if a student or resident can build on an attending's experiences, it's only going to help that resident or learner get farther. And one of the things that our mentor, Dr. Ford, used to always, tell us, or tell me, I remember very clearly, is, my goal is to hopefully make you better than I was as a provider. And I've taken that to heart, especially for all of our learners. If I can provide them with either educational opportunities or share my experiences to only help them build their toolboxes, even greater, or, their experiences even wider, then I'm not just helping them, I'm helping patients, I'm helping podiatry. And that makes me feel good. Like, I don't need to be the top. And if I can help be a stepping stool for somebody else to get even higher, that makes me feel good about my position and my role as a residency director.
That's outstanding. So, Christy, let me ask you this. Student wants to go in the health professions. Is contemplating a career in podiatric medicine. What do you tell that student?
I think podiatry is an amazing profession with so many different niches that they can go into. And at the same time, you can do a little bit of everything if that's what you would like to do. I think podiatry provides a lot of opportunities, not just for personal successes in your career, but also gives you the opportunity for your family life and kind of wellness outside of work. Thankfully, we don't deal with as many life and death situations as other specialties, which I also enjoy. We still have to work with our diabetic population that is, sometimes reeling with the potential loss of a limb and even to some degree potential threat to life. And those discussions are always hard and something that I don't mind having with patients to help guide them on the right choices or guide them along, what choice would be best for them. But I do like the diversity and variety that we're able to experience. And especially within our system, I love that I get to do trauma, I get to do sports medicine, I get to work with kids and adults and the older population all at the same time. And I'm not locked into either one surgical procedure all the time, or I'm not locked into always to be in the operating room or always to be in clinic. I just love the diversity and the challenges that presents.
That's great. Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe, do you have any other questions?
I could talk her ear off all day, but I think that's a beautiful conclusion for our time today.
I agree. Christy, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be sending you a Dean's Chat cup because if we revert back to the first question of the day, I don't know when you sleep. I mean, and the other question I had one quick question. If you don't match this year, can I apply for your program?
Oh, please. We'll take you anytime.
All right. Sounds good.
Just bring Joe along. I'll take you both if I could.
All right. Sounds good.
Residents.
That's all right.
Thank you. And to all of our listeners out there, if you're on Apple or Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating. And if you're watching on YouTube, by all means, become a subscriber. Thanks again, Christy. We so enjoyed the visit today. Hopefully we can do it again down the road.
Anytime. Thank you guys so much for having me. And if you ever need anything, please let me know.
Sounds good. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks so much, Christy.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye now.